At my father's memorial service, my aunt cried loudly during her speech, then suddenly screamed, "He owed me that money. That's why I took it before he died." Guest gasped. She collapsed into sobbing, thinking it would make her look like a victim. What she didn't know was that the service was being live-streamed, including her full confession of theft. By the next morning, the family lawyer had filed charges, and she was trending as the aunt who robbed the dead. This isn't a story I ever thought I'd have to tell, but here we are. My family is a mess right now, and I've got front row seats to all of it. What happened to my dad was bad enough. What happened at his memorial? That's when everything exploded. My name's Travis. I'm 34, born and raised in Lawrence, Kansas. Still live here. My dad, Samuel, was the kind of man who didn't talk much, but when he did, you listened. He worked with his hands, knew every engine inside and out, and could rebuild a carburetor blindfolded. People respected him. They came to him when they didn't trust dealerships or big shops. He'd fix your mower or chainsaw, then slip you a cold Coke and talk about baseball. That was my dad. Then came the cancer. Pancreatic. Quick. Mean. He went from strong and steady to pale and weak in just a few months. I moved in with him part-time, near the end to help with everything. Bills, meds, food, comfort care. It was hell watching him fade like that. He never complained. Not once. He passed away in January. I was holding his hand when he took his last breath. We had his will done, his lawyer looped in, all the bank stuff ready. I was named executor, which made sense since I was his only kid. I thought things would be quiet after that. I thought the hard part was over. I was wrong. Let me tell you about my Aunt Janet. Janet is my dad's little sister. She's the kind of person who thrives on chaos. She's loud, always has to be right, and needs attention like plants need sunlight. She used to work retail but quit 5 years ago because she said she was too spiritual to deal with rude customers. That's when she started trying to live off the family. Over the years, she'd guilt-trip my dad for money. New tires, dental bills, rent when she couldn't find work. He always helped her, even when he knew she was full of it. He told me once, "She's still my sister, Travis. I can't just turn my back." But toward the end, when he got really sick, something changed. He got quieter when her name came up. Distant. One time I asked about a weird $600 ATM withdrawal. He said, "It's just Janet again. Let it go." I didn't. Something felt wrong. After he passed, I started digging. Since I had power of attorney and was the executor, I got access to all his financials. Bank records, credit card transactions, you name it. What I found made my stomach turn. Over $18,000 gone in 4 months. Where'd it go? To Janet. There were direct transfers to her bank account. Charges on his card to places like Saks Fifth Avenue, a spa in Wichita, and 2 Amazon orders for a treadmill and something called red light therapy. I knew Dad didn't buy that crap. He was in bed 90% of the time. The worst part was the timing. These weren't years ago. These were charges from the last weeks of his life. She was robbing him while he could barely speak. I went straight to Dad's lawyer, Michael. He told me to gather everything. Don't say anything to Janet, and wait until after the memorial service. Let's get through the funeral first, he said. Then we handle the mess. So I waited. Then came the memorial service. We held it at the Lawrence Community Center. It's a big hall with a small stage, podium, and folding chairs. We invited the whole neighborhood, along with family and friends from out of town. One of my cousins set up a live stream for folks who couldn't travel. She used her DSLR, a mic, and a laptop hooked to YouTube. We wanted it to feel special, like a proper goodbye for a good man. Everything started off normal. People gave short speeches. Neighbors talked about Dad fixing their snowblowers. An old army buddy talked about their days stationed in Germany. I went up, kept it simple, and thanked everyone. Then Janet stood up. She was wearing a long black dress, heels way too high for the snowy parking lot, and one of those big wide-brimmed hats like she was starring in a drama about the 1800s. She walked to the podium slowly, like she was climbing a mountain. Her hands trembled as she grabbed the mic. She started crying before she even said anything. "I wasn't sure I could do this," she said, voice cracking, "but I have to speak. I have to speak because no one understands how close we were." Everyone was quiet. Some people nodded. A few dabbed their eyes. But then she kept going. "Samuel and I had a bond," she said. "One that went deeper than anyone knew. And I know there are questions. About money. About choices." The room shifted. People turned in their seats. I stood in the back, arms crossed, watching like a hawk. He owed me, she said suddenly. He owed me for everything. For the years I struggled. For all the help I gave. Then her voice rose. I took it because he told me I could. She was yelling now. That money? I took it before he died. Because I earned it. I deserved it. He owed me. People gasped. Loudly. You could feel the whole room suck in air. Then, right there on the stage, Janet dropped to her knees, wailing into her hands. I gave everything. And now he's gone, and you all hate me. It was pathetic. What Janet didn't know, what not a single person had warned her about, was that her mic was still hot, and the live stream was still rolling. Her confession? Broadcasted. Recorded. Shared. My cousin clipped the video that night and uploaded it to TikTok. By sunrise, it had 500,000 views. The hashtags? Hashtag funeral confession, hashtag Aunt Janet scam, hashtag dead man stolen from people were stunned. And they weren't kind. Comments were brutal. One said, imagine robbing your dying brother and thinking crying makes it okay. Another said, she didn't just shoot herself in the foot, she nuked the whole leg. By 9 a.m., I got a call from Michael, Dad's lawyer. We're filing charges today, he said. She just confessed. Publicly. And we've got the paper trail. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Janet made herself the villain, in front of everyone, and then handed us the evidence on a silver platter. After the service, people didn't even want to talk to her. Some of them left early, pretending to get phone calls or just flat out walking out the door. My cousin Gina, who handled the live stream, avoided eye contact with Janet completely. She just started packing up her equipment while Janet sat on the edge of the stage, blotting her face with a wad of damp tissues like she was the one who lost everything. She kept saying over and over, he told me I could take it. He told me. Nobody understands. That's when Uncle Ray, Dad's older brother, walked over. Ray's a retired corrections officer, used to work down in Leavenworth. Big guy, doesn't say much, but when he does, people listen. He leaned in and said quietly, you'd better get a lawyer. Janet looked up like she didn't understand the words. What? You confessed, Ray said, not even lowering his voice this time. On camera. It's over. She just shook her head and muttered something about family turning on each other. Later that night, she called me. I let it go to voicemail. The message was exactly what I expected. Tears, guilt-tripping, and weird spiritual talk. Travis, please. We're family. Your father would never want this. He forgave me. You should too. This world is full of hate, but we can be light. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to the lawyer. The next day, Janet was officially served. She called everyone in the family, trying to spin it. She told one cousin she was tricked into saying those things. She told another that the money was a loan. When my mom asked her directly why she used it to buy a damn Peloton, Janet said, I thought it would help me grieve. But it didn't stop there. 3 days later, she showed up at my house. She knocked like a cop, hard and fast. I opened the door just a little. She looked awful. No makeup, hair messy, sunglasses even though it was cloudy. We need to talk, she said. No, I replied. She shoved a folder toward me. Look, it's proof. Letters from your dad. Notes. He wanted me to have it. He owed me. I didn't touch the folder. Janet, you stole from a dying man. And then told the world. I didn't steal. He gave it to me. She shrieked. Then, suddenly, she started crying again, real loud. A neighbor across the street opened their window. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. You're making this worse, I said. You want to cry in front of cameras again? Go ahead. I don't care anymore. She stopped crying instantly. Dead silence. You think you're better than me, she said. No. I just didn't rob my father while he was dying. Then she stormed off. Peeled out of my driveway like a teenager. But the fallout was only getting started. The court hearing was scheduled 2 weeks later. In that time, a local news station picked up the story. The headline, Kansas woman accused of stealing from terminally ill brother, confesses at funeral. They used a freeze frame of her midscreen. Her mouth open. Wild eyes. The comments got even worse. Strangers started tagging her on Facebook. Someone found her old Etsy shop and spammed the reviews. And then came the kicker. Michael, the lawyer, called me again. There's more, he said. Turns out, Janet forged a signature on one of the checks. A $5,000 one. Forgery meant felony charges. She was going to court for fraud, theft, and now forgery. And still, she was trying to play the victim. She posted a long Facebook status about being set up, saying certain family members were jealous and manipulating the truth. She compared herself to Job from the Bible. That was the last straw for Uncle Ray. He posted a comment under it. Job didn't steal $18,000 and cry about it on YouTube. That got more likes than anything Janet ever posted. About a week before the court date, something strange happened. I got a call from Janet's son, Kyle. Now Kyle and I weren't close. He's in his mid-20s, lives in Tulsa, works in IT. We barely talked at family events, and I hadn't heard from him in years. But that morning, he called me out of the blue. Hey, he said, kind of awkward. I think we need to talk. I was silent for a second. About what? My mom. And my granddad's stuff. That got my attention. Kyle came up to Lawrence that weekend. We met at a diner on 23rd Street. He looked worn out, dark circles under his eyes, thin, like he hadn't been eating much. He slid into the booth and said, I'm sorry. For everything. I had no idea until I saw the video. I nodded, waiting. Then he pulled out a flash drive and placed it on the table. That's your dad's laptop. Or, well, what was on it? My mom gave it to me after he passed. Said he wanted me to have it for school. But when I booted it up, it wasn't wiped. And there's stuff on there you probably need to see. My pulse picked up. I asked, what kind of stuff? He looked around and lowered his voice. Emails. Notes. A whole folder about her. She didn't know it was there. And there's a video too. Your dad recorded something. I took the flash drive without saying a word. Back home, I plugged it into my desktop and sat there for hours. The emails? They were from my dad to Michael, the lawyer. He'd been worried about Janet for months. He didn't want to tell me because he thought I was already doing too much. One email said, I think Janet is taking money. Not sure how to prove it yet. Another, dated 3 weeks before he died. She asked me to sign over some savings. I told her no. I think she's mad. Then I opened the video. It was dated just 9 days before he passed. My dad looked weak, pale, sitting in his recliner with a blanket on his lap. He looked into the camera and said, if anything happens, I want this to be clear. I didn't give Janet any money. I didn't tell her to take anything. I didn't know her a damn cent. I've helped her more times than I can count. If she says otherwise, she's lying. He paused, took a breath, then added, and if she tells Travis anything different, I'm sorry he has to deal with this mess. I sat there staring at the screen, fist clenched. She knew he was dying, and she still tried to fake her way into a payday, and she almost got away with it. The next morning, I gave the flash drive to Michael. He watched the video and said, this changes everything. The prosecution added video testimony to their evidence list. It hit Janet hard. How do I know? Because she emailed me that night. It was a long, rambling message that jumped between apology, accusation, and spiritual nonsense. She wrote things like, you don't understand the pressure I was under, and you don't know what it's like to live in someone's shadow your whole life. She ended it with, I never meant for things to go this far. Maybe we can still fix this before court. I didn't respond. The next twist came the very next day. Janet tried to file a civil motion against the estate. She claimed Dad did promise her money, that the video was edited and the emails were taken out of context. But here's where it backfired. Michael subpoenaed her bank records. Turns out, this wasn't the first time she'd pulled something like this. 3 years ago, she took nearly $7,000 from another family member, her ex-husband's elderly aunt, who had dementia. That case never made it to court because the aunt passed before her son could press charges. Now, the DA had a pattern, and they were going to use it. And just when we thought things couldn't get worse for Janet, her job found out. Yeah, she'd recently gotten a part-time admin job at a local real estate office in Wichita, mostly from lying on her resume. One of the employees saw the TikTok video and forwarded it to their boss. She was fired immediately. Her landlord, who also saw the clip and knew my dad personally, started eviction proceedings. He said she'd been late on rent for months anyway. In less than 10 days, Janet went from trying to rewrite history to jobless, almost homeless, and facing 3 felony charges. She finally stopped calling. But I knew she wasn't done. She wasn't the type to go quietly. The court hearing came faster than I expected. It was held in the Douglas County Courthouse on a rainy Tuesday morning. I walked in with Michael, calm on the outside but twisted up inside. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to hear her excuses again. But I had to be there. Janet sat at the defense table in a navy blue dress that looked like she borrowed it from a thrift store. Her hair was done, her face pale, makeup heavy. She looked smaller than usual, weaker, but I didn't feel sorry for her. The DA laid everything out. They showed the video of her confession at the memorial. They played my dad's recorded statement from the flash drive. They brought out the forged check. They detailed the bank transfers, her Amazon purchases, the spa visits, the credit card bills. All of it. Then they introduced something new. The letters she sent to other family members before the service. Letters trying to get more money for legal help and spiritual debt Dad never paid back. She'd been trying to milk others too. Janet's lawyer tried to paint her as emotionally unstable, grieving, under pressure. He said she made poor decisions during a traumatic time. But the judge wasn't having it. And then I got called up. I didn't want to speak, but I did. I told them about Dad, about who he really was, about the man who fixed things for strangers, who lived simple, and who deserved better than what his sister did to him while he was dying. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just laid it all out, simple and clear. I also admitted one thing. I knew something was wrong, I said. I saw the weird bank activity before he died. I didn't push harder. I should have. That was true. And it mattered. Janet didn't even look at me. The judge ruled that day. Guilty on 2 felony counts, theft and forgery. Because it was a first-time conviction and the money had not been entirely recovered, the sentence was stiff, 18 months in prison and restitution of $18,327.62 to the estate. But that wasn't all. She was also barred from inheriting anything from my dad, permanently. The court froze a small life insurance policy he had. She'd been listed as a backup beneficiary. That was taken from her too. Her lawyer asked for a delay in sentencing to arrange her affairs. The judge said, flatly, she should have thought about that before she robbed her dying brother. She was taken into custody right there in the courtroom. No goodbye. No hug. No dramatic speech this time. Just the clink of cuffs and her head hanging low. The aftermath wasn't perfect. I had to clean up a mess of financial paperwork, sell off some of Dad's tools. Kyle helped me with the garage. He was quiet most days, but when we finished, he shook my hand and said, "Thanks for standing up. She's been like that my whole life. I never had the guts to stop her. I'm not a hero. I'm not proud of how angry I got, or how long I waited to act, but I did the right thing when it counted." And Janet? She'll be known forever as the aunt who robbed the dead and confessed on Livestream. Her name became a warning in this town. People still whisper about it at the grocery store. And when she gets out, she won't find this family waiting. Because some things you can't cry your way out of.